Hi, I'm Dr. Donna Marks. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, psychoanalyst, and instructor and author in Palm Beach, Florida. I'm so happy to join you today, and I'd like to talk about the book that's coming out that I wrote. It's called Learn, Grow, Forgive, A Path to Spiritual Success. And we're actually going to do 4 podcasts, which will be an overview about the book. And this is just going to tell you why I wrote the book. And then the next 3 podcasts will address the 3 parts of the book: learn, grow, forgive. So today I just want to get you a little more acquainted with why I wrote the book and how it might help you. I've been in the field for 30 years in private practice. I've also helped to develop chemical dependency training programs. I've been an instructor at treatment centers. I've worked with addictions and non-addictions. One of the things I've really noticed over the years is that people, and I don't even like to use the word addiction, I like to use the word patterns. Some people call it habits. I like to call it patterns. Some of us have patterns that we haven't been able to break. For example, most of you have heard about people who are going in and out of 12-step programs and keep repeating the pattern. Some of you might notice you can't control what you eat and you go on a diet, and then why do you gain the weight back, and why does the behavior stay the same? For me, it was relationships. I kept getting involved in relationships that were not good for me over and over and over again. I've had other addictions. Some of them are other patterns. Some of them were fairly easy for me to break. I got diagnosed, I got the help, and that was it. But the pattern of relationships for me was very, very difficult. And it made no sense at all. I had a lot of therapy. I started with Gestalt therapy, rational motive therapy, did Tony Robbins seminars, landmark education, more therapy of different kinds, relationship therapy, imago therapy, every kind of therapy that you could imagine. And I couldn't break the pattern. I finally went into psychoanalysis. One day I was in my office, I got a brochure. I was behaviorally trained in graduate school, and I was also trained in cognitive therapy, and got certified in hypnosis. And all of a sudden I have a brochure in my office that talks about psychoanalysis. My thoughts about psychoanalysis were that Sigmund Freud was, interesting, but, he had patterns himself. He had an addiction habit and with cocaine. And he did have cancer of the mouth, so he was given the cocaine to deal with the pain. However, he became very dependent on it. Nevertheless, when I did enroll in the psychoanalytic program, which was to be certified, part of that was that you had to be analyzed yourself. I had developed a whole new interest in Freud. He was incredibly erudite. He could combine Shakespeare, other forms of literature into his theories on how the human mind works, and he was the pioneer of psychology. In fact, every single thing that I've ever read since reading him, I'm seeing parts and pieces of what he contributed and then calling it their own. So there's nothing original in what I'm going to say today. I am a psychoanalyst, and I'm a big believer in it, and I'll tell you why. Freud talked about the unconscious. The unconscious is a part of our mind where things get shoved into. It's like a drawer where it's the no-go drawer, and it starts developing when we're young. And all children are curious and impulsive, and he talked about how there's a drive of aggression and a drive of sex. And we're taught very early that these are not okay. It's not okay to be angry. It's not okay to, want to have sex with your mother. We're conditioned, but the problem is the shame associated with that. So these desires and natural impulses that come up in the children, they get punished, and it gets stored back in the no-go zone, I like to call it. There's the other issue of when a child is traumatized. If they can't relieve that trauma by mourning it and crying and getting it out, that goes in the no zone. So here we have all these parts of us that get separated and stored away that don't go away, they just get stored away. So what does this have to do with patterns? It has everything to do with it, because if you just go and get help and you talk about this and you talk about that, and even if you talk about what happened to you, it doesn't change anything. Those things have to be mourned. They have to be released. They have to come out. So one of the things that my book really gets into is how important it is to be able to not only understand what happened and really get the real picture of what happened, but also to be able to get the feelings out and release them. Otherwise, they're stuck there in your mind. You're carrying it around. And Freud also delivered another very important message to it. He called it repetition compulsion. So, to put it simply, if something bad happened when you were little and it didn't get resolved, you keep doing it again and again as an adult throughout your life. For me, it was relationships. I had a stepfather who I loved very much, and I do believe he loved me. But when he was drinking, he was abusive. He was sexually inappropriate. And it crushed me. It affected my self-esteem. It caused a lot of pain. It made my world seem ridiculously crazy. I didn't want to be here anymore. And there was no outlet for where to place all of that pain. I carried it around with me. I medicated it with alcohol. I did all kinds of things. And I got help for those surface issues, but in the no-go zone, I kept reenacting it. I kept attracting men, and then I would show up with the men in ways that were very dysfunctional, pushing and pulling and knowing they're not right for me, but going for it anyhow. And that part of my mind was trying to heal that primary relationship with the father figure. My biological father, I saw him a couple of times after my parents were divorced. So that was traumatic too, but not the same kind of trauma as loving someone and being betrayed. So that pattern kept showing up in my life over and over again. In analysis, I was really able to get into the deeper healing that caused. Then I stopped the pattern. It went away, it healed itself. And I'm happy to say today I do have a relationship that is beyond my dreams. And we do have all the elements of a happy relationship, of being able to talk, being able to work through issues, and being committed and feeling really good and intimate and healthy. It's a wonderful feeling. So that's the first part of what I really want to convey today, that in order to really have the kind of life that you want, we have to heal those primary original traumas. And I mean really embrace them. Now this is sometimes easier for some people than others. If you've been numbing out and medicating your whole life, it can be very difficult. So you have to, one of the points I really want to make is you never give up. You keep on and you keep on and you keep on. You never, ever give up. It's when you give up that you're surrendering to the loss. And you don't have to do that. No matter what happens, you keep using it as another way of accessing that old pain. Because when your pain is overwhelming now, it's always got that taproot in the past. So I want you to know that no matter what happened, you can heal, and you keep working at it. You never give up. So that's the first part of what I want to convey to you, is that root healing has to be addressed, needs to happen before the pattern can not only change, but go away. Once you stop injuring yourself by re-engaging in the pattern, and you don't have that compulsion and that repetition need anymore, it goes away. The second part is, okay, now I'm not doing it anymore, so what? Well, so what means there needs to be love in your life. I want to start with the time you're born. A baby comes into the world and is totally dependent upon its mother or some other caregiver. And that baby comes into the world. We all come into the world. This is a playground. This is a wonderful place. I didn't see it that way for a long time, I can assure you. But through my own healing, I recognize We're born, we come here to live, to laugh, to play, to have friends, to do things. There's a whole planet full of wonderful, beautiful, fun things to do. But what happens when that child starts growing? It gets trauma. The child gets traumatized. And what I mean by that is, don't do that. That's not okay. Don't say that. That's not okay. Kids make fun of them. Religion indoctrinates. You're a sinner. And what happens out of that is an ego forms. Now, I've been an instructor for A Course in Miracles for 30 years. And I want to talk about the ego, not from the Freud perspective now, but from the spiritual perspective. The Course in Miracles teaches us that we are human beings and we also have a spirit. I don't want to get locked in on spirit and all of that so much. As if you don't like the word spirit, just use the word love. So let's just say that we're human beings, but it's our natural part that to be loving and to want to connect. The baby wants to connect with its mother. In fact, if that connection doesn't form in a healthy way, there's problems. So we want to connect, we want to share and receive love. But what happens because of all of these messages that come bombarding the child, and that combined with trauma, like I described earlier, we develop this ego that says, I don't like it here, it's not a nice place, and I'm going to stay to myself. I'm going to go putting walls around me to protect myself. My heart is going to close. The ego is all about fear. And the ego says, I'll be in charge. We're not going to listen to that ridiculous, stupid love voice anymore that keeps getting you into trouble. I'm going to protect you and I'm going to keep you safe. But the purpose of the ego is not to keep you safe. The purpose of the ego is to capture you, to kidnap you, and to imprison you, and to isolate you, and to claim your life. That is the purpose of the ego. So what I want to convey today is that I want you to be able to recapture your love and to understand that your ego isn't going to go away. It's always there. But the Course in Miracles teaches us how to listen to the voice of love. And the voice of love will tell you it's okay to heal the past. We want you to heal the past. And it's okay to be happy. It's okay to be loved. It's okay to be hurt. You can only gain more love through all of your life experiences. It's not bad. It's a very positive thing. And we keep growing and learning and forgiving. So that's pretty much what my book is going to be about in a nutshell. The learn part will be about understanding the template, I call it, how your mind formed the way it formed. What's your personality formation? What happened? And how did you turn out the way that you've turned out that started the pattern development to begin with? The second part is grow, which is about learning how to feel and embrace whatever pain is stored in the no-go zone. And the third part of the book is about forgiveness. Forgiveness, basically, as the Course in Miracles puts it, is that we need to forgive ourselves. It's always on us. Even if we're mad at the world, there's a part of us that says, it's your fault this happened. And I want to remove all of that blame. I want you to be able to say everything that happened was perfect. I made mistakes. I've incorporated them into my growth, and it's going to be okay. The main thing that I want to focus on now is loving myself. And when I can do that, I won't need to do any patterns. My pattern will be about sharing and receiving love. Then I'll be happy. I wake up happy every day. I go to sleep happy at night. My whole life has changed into a miraculous experience. And I was somebody who was depressed and now I am fully on fire. It's all because of this healing work. And I want to share that with you. And I want to tell you, you can do it. If I can do it, anybody can do it. And you never, ever give up. Never, never, never. Thank you.